Hi guys! After 8 months, the Unofficial Crusader Patch, or the UCP, has finally released version 2.14. This video is going to detail everything that's included with the new version. I'll put a link to the patch below the video. If you have any specific questions on it, you can ask on the UCP GitHub, the UCP Discord, comment down below, or come along to my next Twitch stream and ask me live. I stream every Friday night and Sunday during the day. The link to that will be below as well. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to be notified of future videos. Now let's get into it. First up, we have the Laddermen. These nifty wee guys haven't seen much use in the past, and they were mostly used more for storing population for later taxing, rather than actual use as a unit. Previous UCP versions increased their cost from 4 to 20, probably to reduce their use for storing population. However, the game still displayed 4 gold cost. That has now been fixed. More importantly, there was a bug where the AIs would not send units up the ladders. They'll stand around or attack the walls and completely ignore the ladders. That has now been resolved, so in all cases the units will now use the ladders if they can. Next we have the Fire Ballista, a favourite for setting towers and castles aflame, but also useful for defensive units as well. Unfortunately, it has a few targeting issues. It was previously fixed so that it can auto-target monks. It has now been updated to auto-target tunnelers as well. Alright, now we're getting into the new features, which is the stuff you're really here to find out about, I'm sure. First up, we have the default multiplayer speed. This is a small change, but huge for those people who will be using it. In Crusader, the default speed is 40. However, in multiplayer games, the preferred speed is somewhere between 50 and 60. Which means that the host of the game needs to change the speed manually every single game. This feature allows you to set a new default speed for the multiplayer, so you don't have to change it in the game anymore. I'm loving this, I use this all the time on the stream. This feature is more of a quality of life fix. Have you ever noticed that the order of the weapons in the armory is different to the order of weapons in the market, which is different from the order when you scroll through them in the market? Such a nuisance. This feature will standardise the weapon order, rearranges them slightly for easier access when you're scrolling through the market, just to make everything standard and easier to use. For those of you who played the original Stronghold and then moved over to playing Crusader, you will have noticed that there are a few common features that have been rebalanced. In particular, in Crusader, peasants spawn faster and workers deliver more resources per trip, which is around 50% extra. There is also a bear and religion popularity difference. I'm sure many of you have already figured out where this is going. Strongholdify puts these settings back in line with Stronghold 1 values. Just be careful with using this feature, as it does have the potential to break AIs. This is a big one, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot to cover, so bear with me. In the new Unofficial Crusader Patch, you'll be given the ability to modify your starting goods, units, lord type, and strength of the AIs and yourself. I will not be showing you exactly how to do it in this video. However, when we get to the patch changes, I'll give you a little bit more detail of where the change will go. And just remember that any change that you make on these settings could affect an AI's efficiency. Let us start with the starting units. There are 2 ways to change this. First, we have the Patcher tab Start Troops, where you can select a preset file of start troops for yourself and the AIs. You can add your own file, which we will show where to do later. This method is the best for setting a default troop amount to share with your friends, especially for multiplayer. It also allows you to set the lord's strength and type. By default, the rat has a weaker lord and the wolf has a stronger one, we can now change that to make them more in line or modify AIs entirely. The second option is to select the Setup Identity option in the patcher. When you go into that menu in the game, you can select your starting troops. This will override the player troops part of the patch's start troops and will not work in multiplayer unless your opponent has the exact same option set. But it is much easier to use for all the single players out there, which is going to be hugely beneficial. Next up, we have my favourite part of the patch, starting goods. Just like start troops, you can select a preset file of start resources. This time it's under the start goods tab. By default there won't be any extra options here, but you can create your own, which we will again get to later on where you can do that. Or you can download files from others. For my stream, we have a custom file which includes a bootstrap game mode. You'll be seeing videos of this show up on this channel in the future, where we have decided that a player should start with no gold and no valuable goods. They only get some wood and some bread. It's been very entertaining and been creating some really cool games. I challenge you guys to come up with some other combinations of resources and troops to see how we can get some extra game modes to make some more interesting games. Our final new feature, the patcher now supports the Chinese and Hungarian languages. That makes 6 languages supported by the Unofficial Crusader Patch: English, Russian, German, Polish, Chinese and Hungarian. In the past, a release contained a single executable and nothing else. Now, there's a bunch more there. So let's go through the new folder structure. You will notice that there is now a folder called Resources. This basically contains any extra content that you can add to yourself. When you go into it, you can see that there are folders for AIC, AIV, goods and troops. I told you we'd get onto how you can make your own of those here. For AIC, goods and troops, the folder contains a selection of JSON files. Yes, the AIC has been redone to be JSON instead of the old custom AIC files. If you want to make your own of any of these, make a copy of a file that's already there and edit it in a text editor. I'll leave a link to the wiki for more information below the video. For the AIV folder, you'll have a subfolder for each AIV pack you have available, and the AIV files will sit within those folders. In previous versions of the patcher, you could select multiple AIC files, which was great for AI developers to share a single AI at a time. However, it's a bit confusing for the average user, as you had to deselect the old file, and sometimes your new selection was completely overridden by another AIC file that you hadn't deselected. So in 2.13 it was disabled. However, in 2.14 it has been re-enabled. However, to use it you have to hold the control key and then click the other files. And it will give you a little notification to let you know which one's going to be used by default, which is pretty nifty. This change is one for content creators and nerds. We now have the ability to install the patch from the command prompt. While the average user doesn't really want to do this, it allows content creators to create a batch file, which is basically a list of command prompt instructions to follow, and share their mods. This way they can set all their settings in the config file and inside of the batch file, and the end user just needs to run the batch script and the computer will set all the settings for them and make sure everything's installed exactly how the content creator wants it set up. Makes it much easier for sharing those new mods. I use this on my stream to make sure all new players get the patch installed correctly with the right AIs and maps so that we don't have any issues when we get into multiplayer. There will be more information on this command in the UCP wiki, which I'll leave a link to below. And there you have it, a lot of new stuff in this release, well worth the wait in my opinion, and I'm excited to see where they go next. I'm already hearing rumours of great new features, so I can't wait for the next release. If you have any idea on what they can do, or a bug they need to fix, tell them on GitHub, or tell me in the comments and I'll pass it on for you. Thanks for watching, see you next time.